going on, my friends? Chad here. It's now 3 o'clock. The NBA draft scheduled for Thursday, June 27th. Your Portland Trailblazers will select at number 14 and at number 7. The Atlanta Hawks won the lottery with a 3% chance. First time Atlanta has grabbed the lottery. We've got more on that coming up on the Rip City Drive. According to reports, the Los Angeles Lakers will start searching head coaching candidates, including J.J. Redick. From the NFL, Jared Goff is a very rich man. Signs a 4-year, $212 million extension with the Detroit Lions. NFL schedule release is Wednesday with a couple of leaks that are out. The Green Bay Packers will meet the Philadelphia Eagles September 6th in Brazil. And the Kansas City Chiefs will host the Baltimore Ravens on September 8th. The Bucs have agreed to terms with cornerback Antoine Wingfield, 4 years, $84 million. Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad coming at you right now. We're playing music according to policy right now. I like that. All right, had a very bizarre experience in the studio today. We were just sitting here, Dwight and I, getting ready for the show. He's at his position, I'm at mine, and we're going through different stuff on the show and through our computer, and all of a sudden Dwight goes, David Sanborn has passed away. And I was like, what? And no joke, when I was on my way into work, I was listening to a Yacht Rock Deep Cuts, the alternate station, which plays a lot of B-side stuff. And one of the songs that came on was a song from David Sanborn that I hadn't heard in a while, but I love it, called Anything You Want. And I cranked it and was jamming it today before I even knew the news. And I was like, oh, I love David Sanborn. And then I was thinking back to 1994 when I was introduced to him. And I was like, what a great saxophone player he is. And then I find out a couple hours later that he has passed away. And Godfather, I know you love this. He played the alto sax, which is not an easy instrument to play, as you were pointing out. But he's one of the most commercially successful American saxophonists, 6 Grammys. And he's been identified as the most influential saxophonist on pop, R&B, and crossover players.
He was unbelievable, really, Chad. My first exposure to him really was on the old David Letterman show. Dave loved him. Dave had him on quite frequently, really.
So did Paul Schaefer.
Yeah, exactly. And he would play with the band. And he would sit there the whole show sometimes and just play with the band the whole show.
If memory serves correct, I think he played for the Saturday Night Live band back in like 1980. So he played for Saturday Night Live. As you mentioned, he was part of Letterman, good friends with Schaefer, and just one of those terrific players. The worst part that I've noticed about getting older is that all of my different heroes in sports, music, they're getting older and they start to pass away.
Well, let me just ask you a favor. Don't play anything of me in your car on the way to work, okay? I think it's the doing jinx.
I'm going to try not to do that.
Okay.
I'm not going to kill you, I promise.
Thank you.
You may die tomorrow, but it will not
That's
be from
possible.
my hands.
You may too. You never know.
Hopefully not from your hands.
Yeah.
I've given you plenty of reasons to want to kill me over the last few months, but
Not really.
all right, Rip City Drive. That's Dwight. I'm Chad. We're going to be joined by Ryan Edwards today from our sister station, 850 KOA in Denver. We're going to have a lot of Bo Nix updates today with Ryan and the show, and a lot of good reports coming out of the rookie camp in regards to Bo Nix. So we're excited to talk with him, but also we'll get Ryan's take on the Denver Nuggets. Dwight, I was stunned when I watched Minnesota destroy Denver in the first two games in the Mile High City, and I'm equally stunned coming out of the weekend watching Denver right the ship and dominate two games there. So we got to figure out how that happened. You've got thoughts on that. We'll talk about it at 3:20, but Ryan Edwards will share his thoughts as well. I guess the first thing we got to deal with on the show today, the NBA draft lottery yesterday. The bizarre part for me, not that the Blazers are picking at number 7 and 14, but how about three teams jumping up in the lottery yesterday?
That was incredible.
Almost unheard of. And then as a result, the Hawks with a 3% chance win the lottery for the first time in their franchise's history. And I believe that's the second lowest odds all time to win the lottery. Incredible.
Yeah. And if you've never won the lottery before, this is a lousy year to win the lottery.
Congratulations,
It really is.
Atlanta.
Yeah. I don't know. I look at that, though, and I feel really bad for Detroit. I know Blazer fans say, hey, feel bad for us. But no, Detroit has the worst record in the league every year, it seems like, and they can't win the lottery. They never get the top pick.
And they suck.
Yeah, they were really bad. You think it was bad here? Wow. How many in a row did they lose at one point this year?
All right, just a simple question for you with the lottery. I'm assuming they created the lottery to prevent tanking.
That was the exact reason.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, in my estimation, based on what I've seen over the last several years in the NBA, it hasn't stopped tanking whatsoever.
No.
So why not just go back to what the NFL does? I mean, the commissioner, Adam Silver, is always trying so hard to be like every other sports league. Why not just be like the NFL and give the number one pick to the worst team in the NBA, and then number 2, the second worst record, and so on? Why not just do that instead of this hanky-janky lottery system?
You know, Chad, I'm with you on that. I really am. I think this has gone on long enough. It's crazy how it's turned out. I don't think people thought it would ever get to this where 3 teams knocked more deserving teams out of the top 3. I mean, that's terrible.
It is. Well, with the Trailblazers, you and I have talked about this at length. I know Blazer fans feel like the franchise is cursed, and they might be. Frustration that the Blazers wind up at 7 and 14. But I think in this year's draft, with it being as weak as everyone thinks that it is, it's really not that end of the world because the Blazers, as you pointed out, with Cronin and Schmitz, like Schmitz is known for finding guys that he really likes. My guess is the Blazers are probably relieved to not have the number 1 pick in this draft, and they're still going to be able to find a quality player that they like, that they think can fit into this roster at number 7. Now, do I expect them to take 2 players in the draft at 7 and 14? I certainly don't because they don't need 2 more rookies on the roster. Do I expect them to take 1 player? Yes, and then we'll see what they do with that other pick, but I don't think it's the end of the world. What's your take on winding up at 7 and 14?
Well, I hate to be agreeing with you twice in the first 5 minutes.
Hey,
of
wait
the
a second.
show.
Write it down. What's the date and time?
It's like the first 9 minutes of the show, and I'm agreeing with you twice. Believe me, it hurts. It hurts down deep. No, Chad, you're absolutely right. They don't need to take 2 more rookies to add them to this group. Now, I don't mind trading for another young player. That's fine because you'll give up 1 to get another or whatever. It won't hurt your roster balance or any of that, and you can't pass up a chance to get a really good player. But no, they don't need to do that. And I think the player they want to take at 7, if they'd have drawn the 3rd pick in the draft or the 4th pick, they'd still want to take the same guy, I'm guessing, because they're that close. The top 7, from everything I've heard, is pretty much the same.
All right, so the Blazers now with pick 7 and pick 14. My guess would be, Godfather, that do you expect them to take a player with the number 7 pick?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you expect them to take a player at 14?
That's probably the one that gets traded. The reason I say that, Chad, is trading the number 7 player is not going to be in this draft, isn't like trading the number 7 pick last year, where
Yeah.
that was a pretty good player. This year, not so much. And I don't know what they could get for that 7th pick anyway. Probably not a lot. So I think you take a player at 7 if your guy is there, or even if he isn't, and then 14, you just pass along to somebody else.
Yeah. And what you could do potentially would be attach that pick to maybe a veteran on the roster.
Sure.
Maybe it's Malcolm Brogdon or somebody else to see what type of value you can get. One quick question for you. If you're picking at 14 in this year's draft, would you take Bronny James at 14 and then see what you might be able to get back in a deal with the Lakers? Because no one would expect you to take Bronny James at 14, but you could do it just to mess with them a little bit. And that would make me quite happy just to see the Blazers do that, to mess with them.
All right, Chad. First of all, this is a bigger conversation than what we have time for in this particular segment. I reserve the right to chat about this later.
Okay.
Because I got a lot of thoughts on it. But I like the way you're going with this. I like messing with the Lakers. I think they'd be incensed that somebody took Bronny before they had a chance to do it.
Yeah.
Because I still think they want to, even though Rich Paul, the agent that LeBron's had for years, is putting out a lot of smoke right now that it doesn't matter to LeBron. He'll go ahead and play for the Lakers even if Bronny goes somewhere
I don't
else.
believe that for a second.
I don't either.
They're putting it out there because they don't want him taken by another team.
Yeah, of course. And really, I don't know if he should be taken by anybody except for the reason if you take him, okay, Lakers, how bad do you want him? What are you willing to give up to get him?
Let me ask you a question. What do you think is more important to LeBron? Playing for the Lakers and finishing out his career with the Lakers, or finishing out his career somewhere else playing with his son? What do you believe is the most important thing to Bron?
Well, that's a tough one. I think he wants to play with his son.
I do too.
Now, I don't know if his son wants that. And at some point, that conversation has to happen. Maybe it already has. I don't know. But that has to happen. Bronny's going to have to speak up to his father and tell him what he thinks.
If that would even matter.
Yeah, well, that's very true.
I'm just saying that if you have a chance, I would take him just to see how committed LeBron is to the Lakers, because it would be fun. I would do it just for the entertainment value to see what you could get in return from the Lakers. Because if the Lakers, they're not going to mess around. If they feel like they might lose LeBron, they might be willing to do a deal. I don't know if we're just talking silly stuff here, but.
Well, you might be. But, if you take him and you can't make a deal with the Lakers,
trade him somewhere else.
I think you could move him somewhere else, because somewhere else might think if we get Bronny, LeBron would come to our town. He might not come to Portland, but he might come to Dallas. He might come to San Antonio. That's a possible. I'll bet he'd love to play with Wemby.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
Wemby makes life easier for a lot of guys in the league. He's that good. All right, we'll come back. We got to talk about the response by the Denver Nuggets and this philosophy of just play better. What does that mean? Dwight will tell you. And more importantly, how'd they get that done? I legitimately thought they were toast after what I saw in games 1 and 2 and the remarkable turnaround. Credit to everyone involved with that entire team. That was amazing. We'll talk about that next. Ryan Edwards talking Bo Nix and the Nuggets at 5:20. You got the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. Well, I tell you what, Godfather, the weather this weekend was spectacular. Saturday morning early, teed off at Wildwood at 6:08.
Oh, my.
Blue skies, sunshine, and it was warm, but it was perfect to go out early because by the time we walked off the course just after 10 o'clock, it was warm but not too hot. And beautiful morning. It was worth getting up at 4 o'clock or whatever time the alarm went off. I was all confused. What's going on right now? Took me a moment to figure it out, but played with my buddy Josh, who had the heart attack at Wildwood, so it's always special every time I go up there because he's doing really well, in good health and shape. And we played with this guy, Matt, who has been out here for quite some time. I think he said he lived in Northeast, but he's originally from New York, and so he was giving me pointers on my upcoming trip on
Good.
do this, go here, check this place out, which was kind of nice. He was a good dude. And then yesterday at Heron, same thing. Great weather. Awesome conditions. It's awesome. This is the type of weather that we've been waiting for and looking forward to. And I look at the extended forecast, no rain in sight until next Wednesday for one day. We might get some showers.
Huh.
Give it to me.
Doesn't this great weather make you question living here in the first place?
It's just,
Don't you think about, gosh,
I
what?
think about it all the time.
Yeah.
Like if I lived in other places, I could play golf without problems year round, nonstop. I could get 300 days in a year.
Well, if you get a job in Mesa, Arizona, and get a house there, then I could come down and stay with you once.
No, I would never let you in because I'm still mad at you for getting rid of your house in Mesa. That was a dumb move. No offense. Gosh, that would have been our place. You and I are talking about going to
Our
Arizona.
place.
Yes.
Yeah, with me paying the whole mortgage every month and
Yeah.
you being the freeloader.
I would make you feel better because I would go with you and we could at least utilize it so you wouldn't feel like it was a total loss.
Oh, I
and that's
get
a
it.
good thing.
Yeah.
But I'm excited because I know this week your wife, the precious Nancy, has her alarm set, so she's going to get us a tea time, and then we're going to be out there at Willamette Valley on Saturday.
Yeah. You shouldn't talk about it too much because people will hear that and then jump on trying to beat us out on the tee time. So
you told me it's one of those deals where it's like you got to be right on it as soon as the gate opens, or people they just gobble up the early tee time.
you got to have that app up, ready
Yeah.
to punch the button.
That's so annoying.
Yeah.
It's like going into Ticketmaster trying to get tickets for whatever concert. It's like, wait, what happened? Those were in the queue. I was ready to go. And now they're gone.
Well, that's when all the ticket brokers are on there too with their machines and all their electronics, buying 50 tickets at a time probably.
I don't know who the brokers are, but I'd like to punch a few of them.
Yeah.
They
make it tough on everybody.
I hate them. But the great thing is Nancy and I are going to be able to go through the course and work on the layout together because we got the tournament, the Couples Chapman, coming up on June 1st and June 2nd, a Saturday, Sunday affair.
It's going to be a big deal.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I'm doing everything in my power to make sure my game is tip-top shape before I arrive because I don't want to disappoint Nancy. Disappointing you is like I don't want to do it.
You
but,
don't mind it, though.
Yeah, I don't mind it, but disappointing Nancy, it's like disappointing my Nana. It's like, Chad, it reminds me of when I shot. I don't want this to happen, like when we're done with the tournament. I remember when I got my BB gun, and it was a sweet BB gun because it was you could load it up with BBs, but it was a dual BB pellet gun, so you could use either, and it was awesome. And I decided to shoot up my Nana's bird feeder, and she came out, and she looked at it, and she looked at me, and she goes, "Why would you do that? I'm so disappointed in you." And I started crying because I felt like my world was over.
So
I don't want Nancy to look at me when we're done with the tournament and say, "Why did I invite you? Why'd you play like that?" Because that would crush me.
Yeah, but she's such a nice person. She would never say that.
No, but she would tell you.
I
You
would
hear
it
about
later
it. Yeah.
in the day. Why did I ever pick? You put pressure on me. No, I didn't. You said he'd be great. That discussion would be held.
That's the pressure I feel. Living up to Nancy's expectations. That's a big
I've
deal.
never been able to do it, so don't worry.
All right, we got to talk about what went down over the weekend on Friday and Sunday with the Nuggets and Timberwolves. It's easy to sit here today and say, "Oh yeah, they're the champs. They bounce back." You and I think the majority of people saw games 1 and 2 and thought, "Man, they're done. They got no chance. They're going to get swept out." I certainly thought they were going to get swept out. And then they bounce back and get back-to-back, not just wins, but they dominated the Timberwolves in back-to-back games after looking awful in Denver. They weren't close games. It was total dominance, led by none other than Nikola Jokic. But I want to ask you about this philosophy, quote, "just play better." What did you mean by that?
Well, I once asked a coach here in town that I was covering, What kind of strategy can you use after losing the first two games of a playoff series? What are you going to do to turn that around? Because the games didn't seem that winnable, either one of them.
Yeah.
And he said, well, yeah, there's one strategy, and that's we got to play better strategy. And I thought about it, and I thought, that's probably the best thing. You're not playing very well. And I look at the Nuggets, and that was exactly, they weren't playing well. Now, they did a few things to help them play better, but in the end, Chad, I think what they did is they just played better. And I think back to another head coach, his famous saying, Rudy Tomjanovich, famous saying, never underestimate the heart of a champion. And that's what those guys seem to have. And we talked about it last week. Do they really have the heart of a champion, or was this just a one-year fluke? Are they champions? And that two-game comeback showed me they do have the heart of a champion. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to win the series because they're in tough still. This is a good team they're playing. So what happens from here on out after these four games, I don't know. If you watch the last two, you'd think, well, Denver's just going to not lose another game. But if you watch the first two games, you'd say, yeah, okay, maybe not, because the home team hadn't won a game yet.
The reason why I still think Minnesota's alive and can get back in this series and could win the game 5 tomorrow in Denver is because of their defense. When you are a great defensive team, and they certainly are, they have a chance to fight, scratch, and claw. What I'm curious about now is what adjustments will Chris Finch and his staff make, like we saw with Malone and his staff going into Minnesota for games 3 and 4. Everyone played well, but it really starts with Jokic. I thought his play, and here's the play where you probably remember this, but it was early on in game 3 where he set a pick. I think it was on Anthony Edwards and hammered him.
Yeah.
Solid pick. I thought what the Nuggets did early in game 3 was respond to the physicality. They played a stronger brand of basketball. Mm-hmm. And that starts with Jokic setting the tone for his team.
Yeah, they did a couple other things, though. There were two things I saw, Chad. Number one, the big problem for Murray in the first two games was bringing the ball up the floor against pressure. They pressured the daylights out of him. By the time he got into half court, the shot clock was down. He was tired and had to give the ball up, and he was messed up for those two games. He really was. So they decided, you know what? Take him off the ball. They had Gordon, and they had Porter, and they had Joker bringing the ball up against pressure. And those guys against bigger players wasn't that much of a problem. Then on their pick and roll, they did a great job. Like if Rudy was playing the pick and roll, if he was guarding Jokic, they ran a pick at him first before the actual pick got there from the guard. They would run, I think they ran Gordon down there, picked him first, then they ran their pick and roll so that Rudy had no chance to get back and ended up having to play Murray, which then they had them in rotation. All of a sudden, Minnesota had to rotate because they had doubled inside. So now there's open shooters around the perimeter. And who knew? But Porter and Gordon, their guys started making threes, which helped a lot. But Jokic is still the hub, Chad. You got that right. I mean, he beat their defense by himself almost. He touched the ball every time down the floor. He made every shot against their defense you want him to make. Runners, floaters, dunks, threes, everything. And I'm telling you, when that guy gets it rolling and can see the floor, he made spectacular passes to Gordon in the dunker spot. It was unbelievable. They really did a great job.
It was truly impressive. The other part, too, is I look at Minnesota's offense. They're not a very good offensive team.
No,
and if you go back and dig into the numbers, they weren't very good throughout the course of the regular season. Their defense is sensational, but they had issues because the Nuggets were just fine letting Anthony Edwards get his points last night, and he scored a bunch, but no one else got into a rhythm. Karl Anthony Towns was basically a no-show. Jaden Daniels and Nikhil Alexander-Walker has not been able to hit threes. They're going to need other guys to step up and make shots. I thought Rudy Gobert was just average yesterday. They're going to need others to step up aside from Ant and make shots if they're going to have a chance to win Game 5 tomorrow in Denver. The offense They looked out of sorts. And Denver's defense was sensational in games 3 and 4.
It was. And they did a great job. And they're not worried very much about Rudy. All they worry about is the lob to him and him finishing it with a dunk. But other than that, what does he do offensively? There's even people talking and suggesting bring him off the bench because you're better off with Naz Reid in there, who's more mobile and can come out on the floor on the pick and rolls better.
And he can
than
shoot
Rudy
threes.
does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I watch Rudy like he's just okay. Like he's limited.
Yeah.
There's limitations to his game. I like him, but is he really the best defensive player in the game? Because everyone acts like he's some type of dominant force, but there are things you can do to take him out of his comfort zone, and then he becomes ineffective. And he doesn't shoot free throws very well, which is annoying too.
Yeah. Well, the big thing with Rudy is he's not a good one-on-one defender. Jokic can take him whenever he wants to take him. He's better when you put Towns on Jokic and let Rudy be the floater. If he can float and be the guy off the ball coming in to block the shot, that's his whole game. That's how he gets his blocks.
Man. Yeah, Michael Malone, I got to give him credit. I don't like Michael Malone. Like, he's not a very likable guy.
He's pretty grumpy.
He's a grumpy man. He's very prickly. And it's like, I just get tired of that act. It's like, dude, you're coaching the best player in the world, and you're coming off a championship. You got a chance to win back-to-back. What are you so unhappy about? And you make millions. Like, what is so bad about your life to where you got to be so prickly all the time? Like, I don't get that whole act from coaches. It's nonsense.
And they let you get drunk at the victory parade and say all kinds of stupid stuff on television.
Just shout obscenities. Like, that act was tired. Like, I'm just not a fan of Malone, but he's a great coach. Like, that was a terrific turnaround by the staff. Hey, here's what I think, too. And I think Anthony Edwards talked about this, but the Nuggets were very fortunate to have the schedule lay out the way it did. They played Monday, got annihilated and embarrassed at home. Then you get Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday off.
Yeah.
3 days for them to listen to how much they suck and how they're done. And then you give that time to Malone and his staff to put together a game plan. Had the series been on short rest where they're playing game 3 on Wednesday, I don't think they have that type of, rebound. But that extra time for rest and for preparation from the coaching staff to get the guys ready, that turned out to be a major blessing for them. And they took full advantage of it. Good coaches with a great staff will take advantage of time.
Yeah. Yeah, and don't you think now whoever wins Game 5 is going to win the series?
I mean, that's usually percentage-wise how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done trying to predict this series now. I have no idea. I don't. Does Denver have the advantage now? Most definitely. But the one thing we know is that games 3 and 4, Game 5 will not be like those games. It'll be different because Minnesota will make adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
They will. And I think the question for them is, who's going to step up aside from Ant and make shots? Can they get a couple of guys to hit some threes? They're going to need Conley to play well, and they need either Daniels or Alexander Walker to step up and make shots.
Well, I was worried about Conley there for a minute. He went down that one time.
Oh, on his shoulder?
I thought he was done.
Yeah, until I saw a close-up of his shoulder, and it's like he's like a mini Adonis.
He is.
He looks pretty good for an older guy.
He does.
He's an ageless wonder, man.
Yeah.
That guy's not young. He's been playing in the league for a long time, and he's just out there making good plays, playing his ass off, and defending and hitting big shots.
Mm-hmm.
He's a pro's pro. I'm a big fan of his. I know you are too.
Oh, yeah. He's one of the best. And he's also unflappable. You don't see him get real upset with referees or teammates or somebody on the other team. He just plays.
All right, that other guy for the Nuggets, too, the second-year guy, I think he played at Kansas. Why does he call himself Brown? His name is B-R-A-U-N.
Braun.
Yeah, Braun. There's no way that his name is actually pronounced Brown. I think he didn't like the idea of Brown or Braun, and so he changed it to Brown. It's so weird when you see guys lying about their name, like Brett Favre. His last name is not pronounced Favre. There's no way. He changed it to sound cooler, and I think Braun did the same thing.
Yeah.
But that guy stepped up and knocked down big shots. The role players, the bench guys for the Nuggets that we thought sucked because they haven't been effective most of the year, they got a lot of role guys to step up and make shots.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. And, they're going to need that because they need to give their starters a rest. We talk about that all the time. Best starting lineup in the league, but you just can't play them into the ground the way the Knicks are.
And it was Braun, It was Caldwell Pope. It was Holiday. Just a number of guys. Everyone who got a chance to play stepped up and made a game-winning play or some type of contribution to help them get over the top. And when you have that starting five that's getting good balance play from their bench, then you see how deadly they can be. I'm amazed. That was an incredible turnaround. Props to them. And I'm glad they did it because I was mad at myself for starting to buy in to the Nuggets. And then after what I saw games 1 and 2, especially in game 2 when they melted down and acted like a bunch of wussies after the game and all the complaining and stuff, I was disappointed in that type of effort. But this bounce back, I'm like, okay, that's what champions do. That's what big-time basketball is right there.
Yeah.
You get whacked, and then you regroup, you reset, you focus, and go out there and play, and you play well. And that's what I would expect from the MVP and Jokic. And he did not disappoint. That was big time. He's good.
There's nobody like him, Chad. He is the unicorn. There's no one that does the things he does.
No, he's a unique. And it's really weird because, again, with the lack of athleticism that he has, it's just hard to accept in your mind a guy dominating a game the way he does it from the floor because he doesn't sky above the rim.
Right.
He's not physically impressive when you look at him, but smarts, vision, understanding of the game, unselfishness, he embodies everything you want in a player. And guys want to play with him because he's willing to share the ball with them. If you're in the right place, he'll find you. And I think that type of play, it's infectious where other guys, if they see Jokic playing like that, unselfish, they're going to want to do the right thing and make the next pass.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll tell you what, whoever coached him as a young kid must have been really something. Well, I mean, he is so well schooled in how to play basketball.
But that's what they do over there. That's what's happening over in Europe.
I know. That's why I'm thinking with that 7 pick, isn't there a Euro over there somewhere that we could get on this roster that would know how to play?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I've been anti-Euros for a long time. But now, based on the way they're being developed better than the American-born, or with AAU and all that nonsense, I'm about to become pro-Euro. Just draft nothing but Euros the rest of the way out.
I don't think it would be a bad idea at all. Would it? Especially one that's already had a year or two playing in the Euro League against grown men, better than playing in college in this country.
It's true. Anthony Edwards was nice last night.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big-time basketball player right there.
Mm-hmm.
He can get to the rim anytime he wants. I can't believe, Braun did his best. He worked hard, but Anthony Edwards sees him, and he's like, come on, man.
That's Brown.
Yeah.
His name is Brown.
Yeah, whatever it is. Brown. I want to ask him that, dude, you spell your name B-R-A-U-N. How do you get Brown out of that? How does he get Brown out of that? You're the wordsmith. What's up with that?
I don't know. You have to, maybe that U is pronounced like a W in wherever the guy's from. I don't know where he's from.
It's like the guy that came in and hosted the show for a day, Kevin Goy. It was G-O-U-Y. Goy. Remember that? It was a weird pronunciation.
It was Goy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Goy, but it had the U in there. Why's it got a U in there? What's up with that? Just drop the U. I need to help people with their names. It's so annoying.
That might be a whole new business opportunity for you.
Well, when I get fired from radio, I'm in. All right, we'll keep things rolling here on the show. We're going to come back and talk about UW. $2 million.
But they got a great player.
Literally.
Yes.
Literally great.
Argue with me on that, but they got a great player.
$2 million in the portal. What do you need in return for that investment? We'll talk about it next on the Rip City Drive. All right, Godfather. I feel guilty right now. I was hanging out at home yesterday, and I think I ate my weight in peanuts. It's not too often
Really?
that I derail and just start overeating,
I have never seen that actually in person.
but I found a package of blister peanuts from Trader Joe's that I had forgotten that I have.
What are they? Blister peanuts? I don't know that.
Delicious, really crunchy peanuts.
They're not in the shell. They're out of the shell, right?
That's correct. They're really good.
Roasted.
Yes.
Salted.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, if you eat nuts without salt on it, you're a moron. There's nothing worse than raw nuts with no salt. That's like no fun. Craziness right there. No flavor. It's like, get out of here with that. But these blister peanuts are money. They're unbelievable. And I thought, well, I'll just have a few. And so I opened up the bag, and before I know it, I had half a bag down. And I'm like, what have I done? Consumed like 1,000 calories in peanuts or more, and it was delicious. I couldn't get enough. I couldn't stop. And then you crack open a nice cold DC.
Yeah.
It's a perfect way to wash them down.
See,
It's so good.
Eating a lot of peanuts for me causes some distress in the lower GI tract.
Well, a lot of things, any type of overeating does that for me. I just don't do it very often, but I couldn't pry myself away.
Hmm.
There you go. I just want to let you know that I can be human once in a while. Yesterday would be that day.
Mostly you've been inhuman, but I think the fact
But
that
the problem is most people do that and they don't give it a second thought. I do that and
Yeah,
I
I
feel
know.
guilt and I hate that.
Yeah.
Well, why can't I just enjoy eating a half a bag of peanuts? Instead, I think, gosh, how many calories was that? I'm going to be fat now. Like I was really worried about it. And then I got on the scale this morning. I'm like, oh, it's not as bad as I thought. So it was good. But man, there are certain items that you eat and you're like, that is a good product. Those blister peanuts, very good. Very good. Now, I prefer nuts in the shell, particularly if they're hot and fresh
Oh.
roasted. Those are my favorite. But for out of shell, those blister ones are mighty fine.
Hot peanuts in the shell are the best.
Yeah, it's money.
Fresh roasted. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, with salt too, right? Do you
Yeah.
eat peanuts without salt?
Well, the ones in the shell, yeah. I'm not a big fan of the salted ones in the shell because they've had to crack them open to put the salt in there. They don't grow like that.
But they don't sell. If you go to a ball game, they don't sell unsalted peanuts. You got to get them with the salt.
Yeah, mostly, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So I'm saying you're not going to pick unsalted peanuts to eat those, are you?
If they have the little brown skins on them, sure.
Whatever. Gosh, it's like, do you try to be difficult sometimes? Like you actually go and look for unsalted nuts?
Don't ask for my opinion.
I don't want your opinion. Just buy salted nuts. Gosh.
I'll check with you.
I know
before
how you
eat
like your nuts.
Before I eat another peanut, I'll check with you first.
All right. Well, explain this to me.
All right.
What in the world is UW doing giving $2 million to Great Osabor? And I thought his name was Grant, but apparently it's Great.
It's great.
How-
It's got a great name.
His name is literally Great.
Yes.
Grat.
What would possess parents to name your kid Great?
I mean, seriously, why would you do that? Because right away, you're not going to be well received by others. Wait a second, your name's Great. Get out of here.
You got a great kid there.
Why would you do that?
I don't know. It seems silly to me. Great.
Because it is silly. It's ridiculous.
But even more silly is giving the guy $2 million to play basketball at University of Washington, which isn't exactly a basketball factory in the first place. Where's that kid going to take you?
All right.
You don't have the surrounding cast to go to the Final Four, do you? And if you're going to give a guy $2 million, you better get to the Final Four. That's my last word on it.
3 years at Montana State, played at Utah State last year, was the Mountain West Conference Player of the Year, and now he's going to go to Washington.
Yeah.
That's really my question. Like, what is the proper return for that type of investment? $2 million? I mean, $2 million seems like a lot of money, but on the grand scheme for a big school that makes a lot of money like Washington, I don't know how big of an investment that is, but definitely somebody that will fill the seats, right? Like people will pay to go watch him play.
Well, they better. Yeah. Although the school's not paying it, obviously. It's the NIL fund that's doing it. But still, Chad, I just think by the way, he's the highest NIL guy that anybody knows about. And I always thought that person would be playing football, not basketball. But I think you got to get to the Final Four to justify that. Otherwise, it just doesn't. It's not worth it.
Last year, 17 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists per game, 57% shooting, and just 21% from downtown. But he's an inside guy.
in the Mountain West, right? Is that where he was playing?
That's correct.
Yeah. How does that translate to the Big Ten? Wow.
But this is how the game's going to be played now.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have an issue with it? Like, if someone wants to front that type of cash to bring in a big-time player, like, does that bother you at all?
Well, it would bother me really if I were a Husky fan because I would think you could find better ways to spread out that money rather than to give it to a basketball player for a school that's not really noted for its basketball success.
Well, is the NIL, do they have separate NILs set up for the basketball and the football?
It's up to the school, I think. I mean, it's not up to the school. It's up to whoever is putting the money into NIL. Nobody's going to tell you where to put it if you want to throw that kind of money around.
I think it just goes to show you, too, with like these big-time schools like Washington, Oregon, the teams now that are in the big-time conferences, the SEC and the Big Ten. Just think about the type of money that's going to be rolling in with the TV contracts. Man. The cash is deep. The pockets are deep in those big-time conferences. These schools have a lot of different resources to work with.
Yeah. But NIL is coming from outside the school. And those are the kinds of donations, and I've said this now for about a year, those are the kinds of donations that usually went somewhere else. Somewhere that school is going to, I think, be hurting because they're accustomed. Maybe that money goes to the law school. Maybe it goes to support the football team or basketball team. And maybe it goes to buy tickets for games, but it's going to go to an individual now.
Hey, Mom and Dad, why'd you name me Great? So dumb.
Gosh, you didn't even know what I was going to be, but I was great already.
I forgot who it was, but there was someone. No, I can't even say that on air. There's just sometimes with the last name, you might want to be smarter with what you place in front of the last name.
Yeah, I know that. But
come on, Mom and Dad.
Hey, the Knicks got a basketball player named Precious, so what the heck? You get Precious and Great on the same
Which
team.
would you rather be named Precious or Great?
I would take Great. I don't think I'd want to be Precious.
All right, is there anyone out there that actually eats unsalted nuts? I can't stand that. Unsalted nuts. Who does that? Do you like them roasted? Do you eat raw nuts at all, or do you prefer that they're roasted?
I could eat raw nuts. Yeah, I prefer them roasted. What's the other kind they call dry roasted? Those are pretty good.
Yeah, I don't like raw. I need them to be roasted.
Yeah.
But like without salt, like salt's part of the fun about the nuts. I've just tried them without salt. I'm like, ugh. The cool thing is that spot where there's a stand up there at the Seattle market, up there at the fish market.
Uh-huh.
There's a local nut stand that has the best mixed nuts I've ever had in my life. They now, you can place orders and they deliver them to you. So I don't have to be up in Seattle to get them.
You get them sent to your house?
Yes. Yes, as you would say. That's what I'm talking about. They're delicious.
So do you warm them up when you get them or what?
I mean, you could. I mean, they're already in perfect eating condition. I've tried that before to heat up my own nuts. It doesn't work so well. Let me just put it that way. All right, you got the Rip City Drive. Hey, what's up? 4 o'clock. Chad is here. What's going on, my friends? Hope you enjoyed your weekend. The NBA draft scheduled for June 27th on a Thursday. The Blazers will have the number 7 and number 14 picks. The Hawks got number 1 with a 3% chance. First time that franchise has won the lottery. According to reports, the Lakers are beginning their search for a new head coach. One of those guys they will talk to is J.J. Redick from the NFL. Jared Goff, a very rich man, signed a 4-year, $212 million extension with the Detroit Lions. NFL schedule releases Wednesday with a couple of leaks that are already out. The Green Bay Packers will take on the Eagles September 6th in Brazil. Kansas City Chiefs will host the Baltimore Ravens September 8th. The Bucs have agreed to terms with Antoine Wingfield, 4 years and $84 million. Donovan Mitchell will not play tonight. At Game 4 of the Eastern Conference semis, Celtics and Cavs, he has a calf strain. Hey, Godfather, what do you think about that website? Pike Place Nuts. That's the spot I was telling you about. PP&J Peanuts.
I saw that.
You know that tastes pretty good.
Yeah, they also have ghost pepper peanuts.
Yeah.
That you talk about hot nuts. That's what you're talking about right there.
I love hot nuts, but the problem is you pay a price after you consume a good amount of them.
Yeah. No, I was just in the middle of trying to order a pound of the roasted peanuts.
Yeah, that's delicious. The problem is sometimes things that taste so good going in can feel the exact opposite coming on the way out. It's very problematic with some of those spicy foods for me, but that's my spot. My daughter brought me back 2 pounds when she was up there for the Mariners a couple of months ago. I ate them too fast. It's just too much. I tried to vacuum seal them. I got this vacuum sealer with like the Ziploc bags so you can keep the nuts nice and fresh and everything. But
yeah,
I just can't stop eating them. There's certain foods where once I get started, it's hard for me to pull myself off. It's like, man, I just want more and go crazy. All right, Godfather, let's talk about this. We'll start with this since we just got news. But Donovan Mitchell is not going to play in Game 4 tonight. Calf strain. A series that's already unwatchable just became a lot more unwatchable.
Yeah, and I don't know who's going to score for them because he's been carrying the load offensively for them, a good part of the season, but especially in the playoffs. So, hey, that's a team nobody cares about anyway. Out here, they care in Cleveland, big deal. But I don't think anybody out here gives a darn about the Cleveland Cavaliers.
No, it's a very unwatchable series. I think we're all looking forward to the Knicks and Celtics and what that's going to bring. But with Boston, like, what's going on with them, Godfather? I know we like to joke about Missoula, their coach, Missoula, Montana.
Yes.
And his inexperience and attention to detail. But seriously, what's going on with them? Because when I watch them play, I don't know if it's a lack of fire, if they're just bored right now because of the competition. I don't know if we overvalued them because of their record based on the fact they stacked up a bunch of wins against the Eastern Conference. But they don't have the look of a championship team right now.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, Chad. They're not consistent, and I don't think they're tough. I think they're soft, and I think part of that is playing in the Eastern Conference. You can win a lot of games and be soft. And
well, what do you mean by that when you say soft? Because that's a huge indictment when you call a team soft. Like, what do you see that would describe softness to you?
I think more mentally soft than physically soft. I think they can bump and grind with some teams, not like the Knicks or even Denver, but I think mentally soft. They don't show up some nights.
Is that coaching?
Well, of course it is. I think, yeah, because they weren't that way when Ime was there. And I think it's different now. They seem not to be as attentive to the details of the way they play. Some nights, they just don't come out ready. They look flat, and they get hammered when they do that. It's often at home, too, which tells you even more, I think. It's easy for teams to get kind of jacked up on a road game. It's fun because everybody's yelling at you. You're the villains.
Yeah.
Pretty easy to get the juices flowing for road games. At home, though, everything's comfortable. Oh, yeah. Run out for the starting lineup. Everybody's standing. A lot of music playing. It's easy. You know what? You got to play just as hard at home. And sometimes they don't.
I just don't have much patience for teams that are that talented who are just going through the motions. And
No,
we're
I
talking about
agree.
an NBA championship. They've won one title in like the last 35 years.
Yeah.
Can I see a little more heart and determination? I don't know what it is. They drive me crazy because they're talented. Like one of the best teams I've seen live all year, the Boston Celtics, in terms of their desire to play the right way, their depth, their shooting ability, the toughness of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. I just thought going into the playoffs that they would be out to send a message that, hey, we're legit title contenders and we're here to get this done.
Yeah.
Because you don't have this window of opportunity for the Celtics. It's open, but it's not
Yeah.
going to stay open forever.
That's for sure, Chad. I think with that core, you got to probably win this year or next year, or they're going to start making changes because it's the same in Boston as it was 30 years ago. It's championship or bust. Nobody there is really getting excited about winning the Eastern Conference
No one
championship.
cares about that.
Yeah.
When you've won a gazillion titles, they expect you to win championships. That's what the franchise is all about.
Yeah, here in Portland, you put up a banner for winning a conference title. Back there, what do you got?
No.
Bring me something more than that.
So I just want to see more from them. But unfortunately for the Celtics, they may not get tested all the way up to the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
New York is
Oh,
the attrition for the Knicks is a problem. The Pacers aren't for real. They don't defend.
they got a free ride to the finals.
So the problem is for Boston, you'll cakewalk your way through the Eastern Conference, and then all of a sudden you'll show up in the finals. You're playing Denver or you're playing Minnesota or OKC or Dallas, and those are teams that play with a lot more desire.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it looks like through my eyes.
No,
Again,
they play harder. I would say all of those teams might be more well coached than the Celtics are. And I know this kid, he tries. He does a good job. I think fundamentally they're okay. But I think he doesn't have the ear of all of his players. I think that's where he's missing. And they went from having a hard guy coach to, in Ime, and then they go to this guy who looks like he was those guys that were former assistant coaches, they were buddies of the players. Players loved him. That's how he got the job. Players spoke up and said, this is a guy we want. Well, guess why they wanted him?
yeah, because he's nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to bring the hammer down.
Ime was a hard ass.
When you go from the hard ass backward to the soft guy, it's very oftentimes chaos, Everybody kind of going their own way.
No one wants to admit that they need discipline in their life, but we all need discipline in our life.
Yeah.
And that's why those hard coaches, I think what's happening with Missoula probably is that since he doesn't have the resume or the track record yet, he's probably a little bit cautious about what to say and how hard to be on his players because he doesn't want to lose them or have them turn on him because if that happens, he's done.
And what goes with that, Chad, is a lack of respect from the players because they know what they heard from Ime Udoka. And now they're not hearing those same reminders, those same screams once in a while. And so, this guy, he's okay. We're okay. Everything's fine.
All right. So we'll see if the Celtics sleepwalk today or if they take it seriously and put the stranglehold on Cleveland. They're up 2-1. They won game 3. No Donovan Mitchell tonight, so you'd expect a Boston victory. Now, in the other series, the Knicks and the Pacers, Indiana tied up the series. And game 4, we wondered how long the Knicks could go with losing players. They had no OG.
Yeah.
Jalen Brunson's exhausted and fatigued with the basketball.
Yeah.
And Josh Hart's playing 1 billion minutes. He doesn't come out. So it just looked like they finally ran out of gas. And Indiana just blitzed him in game 4.
Yeah, they did. The good thing was Thibodeau actually rested some guys in the second half of that game. There was no point in playing them any longer. I could see
that was smart, right? Rest
yeah.
him.
Oh, very smart.
Take advantage.
Yeah, for sure. That's part of their problem with not getting any rest is they don't play anything but close games. That's all they seem to play. So he never gets a chance to sit guys out. But I could see the Knicks still winning this series only because the Pacers are so lousy defensively.
Yeah.
And they are. Now,
and the Knicks have home court.
But they should win. They should beat the Knicks. The Knicks don't have enough left, but we'll see. I still think the Knicks have a fighting chance. If I had to bet money, I'd bet the Pacers. But
you would?
Yeah. Because there's just
Really?
I worry that Brunson's
I'm just
more.
surprised to hear you say that because you're not high on the Pacers at
I'm
all.
not, but I think Brunson's hurt more than what we're seeing. I bet they're shooting him up, probably in his foot or his ankle, whatever that is. A lower body injury, I'm sure they're calling it. But he's having trouble, and I just Hart's played too many minutes, and they've lost Anunoby. I just don't see it for them. I think it's going to be too hard to come up with enough production.
Well, they should have won Game 3, but
Yeah.
the Pacers, that shot by what's that guy's name? Neesmith? Was it Naismith? Neesmith?
Nemhard.
Oh, Nemart?
Wasn't that who hit it?
I'm asking you. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think it was Nemhard.
Do they have a Nemart? I
Yeah.
can't remember the name.
Something like that.
What a miraculous shot. Like, he didn't even think that shot was going to go in. High arching rainbow at the buzzer, swish, game over. That was crazy.
Yeah, Halliburton put him in a bad spot, getting him the ball, basically hot potato situation where you better shoot it. There's not enough time. And he did have enough time for a step back. He got himself some room. So, it's one of those shots that any NBA player can hit that shot. It's just a question of what the percentage would be.
Oh, my goodness. Let's see here. What was that guy's name? I just couldn't believe the shot went. I was like, wait, what? What just happened here? That was a miraculous three. Okay, let's see here. Pacers. Yeah, Nimhard. Yeah, that's who it is.
Yeah.
Nimhard. 31-foot step back.
Yeah.
With 17 seconds on the clock. 17 seconds. Yeah, and then after that, the Knicks just couldn't get a good look. And they looked gassed after that game, too. I was surprised the Knicks, put themselves in a position to win Game 3. I thought the Pacers might blow them out in that one.
Mm-hmm.
And the Knicks are right there. So how do I think the series is going to play out? Yeah, I still like the Knicks at home. I like them at home. So I think they'll find a way to grind out a victory tomorrow. I just don't think the Pacers are tough enough. And they don't defend. And that, again, when you don't defend, then that's an issue because they're going to continue to give the Knicks opportunities. That's the issue I have with Indiana.
Yeah.
They're just not good enough defensively. But obviously, if Brunson can't go or is limited because of his foot, then that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, and we might be getting to the point, too, where the Knicks just aren't defending as well because they're so shorthanded, and then the Pacers can just outscore them.
All right, early on first quarter, Cleveland right now on top of Boston, 8-2.
Yeah, good start, Celts. That's kind of typical, too.
Slow starts, not taking things seriously. Well, I don't know. Maybe the Cavs, we've seen this before, too. You don't have Donovan Mitchell on the floor. All of a sudden, the ball moves a little bit better. Different guys get involved. Maybe you have a chance to put up a game at home where you can play better just because you have more involvement from different players.
Yeah.
Less guys standing around watching Donovan Mitchell play. But frankly, I don't care about the series. Like, that's one of those series you get them every once in a while. You're like, ugh.
Yeah.
Oklahoma City, Dallas has been intriguing.
I'm just wondering, the Rangers are going for a sweep tonight in their Stanley Cup Series. I'm just wondering if the Knicks get eliminated, will we see Spike Lee at the Rangers games with his little New York hat on and stuff?
Is he a Ranger fan?
He roots for all New York teams, I think.
Yeah, but is he a hockey fan?
Oh, come on. Who isn't a hockey fan?
Seriously, have you ever seen Spike Lee at a hockey game?
I think one time, yeah, I think so. If they got to the Stanley Cup Finals,
he would jump on the wagon.
Oh, yeah. Oh, go New York, go New York, go New York,
Yeah.
go. Absolutely.
Of course. All right, we'll come back. Based on the notes you sent me, you don't seem excited about the NFL schedule release. That's not a big deal to you?
The schedule release is one thing. All the teams trying to one-up each other with their video productions of the schedule release. Whatever.
It's one of my favorite days of the year.
Of
I'll
course
tell you
it
why.
is.
I love it.
Of course it is.
I got to make plans. And when
Yeah.
the schedule drops, I get on the phones with my boys and we start making plans for the upcoming football season.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my favorite days of the year. You got to give the NFL credit for one thing, Godfather. They have found a way to make events during the offseason just as big as their games.
They make everything important, leaving the NBA to try to chase them.
Well, it might be nice if the NBA could figure out maybe how to operate like the NFL instead of just trying to do exactly what the NFL does and then fail at that. We'll get to that as well. But the NFL schedule release, we'll share some thoughts. And then guess what we have after that?
What?
A Bo Nix update.
Yes!
You got the Rip City Drive. All right, Brian Bergman has chimed in. Hey, Chad, I don't think there's anything wrong with that guy's name. Signed Gwyneth Paltrow's kid, Apple. He's referring to the $2 million that Washington has paid for their new basketball player named Great. His first name is Great.
Mm-hmm.
Great Osibor.
He better be great for that price.
Well, Brian's right about one thing. Leave it to Hollywood to come up with the craziest names for their kids.
Yeah.
It's like, really? That's the best you can come up with? I mean, how cute can you get? You do realize that your child's going to have a life of their own, right? And everyone's going to ask them, why were you named that? What were your parents thinking? I have no idea. I wasn't a part of the process. They just named me that. Apple?
Yeah.
I like Gwyneth Paltrow, but Apple?
You think that's better than Moon Zappa?
I'd rather be named Precious than Apple or Great.
Yeah.
Because right away you're going to get made fun of. If you're a guy and your name's Great, your boys are just going to give you constant razzing on that. Are they not?
I would hope so.
Yeah. That's what guys are supposed to do.
I know I would.
All right. The NFL schedule should have come out last week. It's been pushed back to this week. So Wednesday is the day. And we do know a couple of dates. June 6th, we're going to get the Packers and Eagles for a game down in Brazil. And then September 8th, we'll get the Kansas City Chiefs, defending champs, hosting the Baltimore Ravens. So those are the first two big leagues. I've told you the one before. There was some thought the Broncos might get to open up at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Wow.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, it'd be something.
Pittsburgh at Denver. You get Russ against Sean Payton with their new quarterback.
What's his name?
Bo Nix.
Oh, yeah.
And we have an update on Bo Nix coming up. But why are you not a big fan of the schedule release? I know football is not your number one sport, but I can just tell by the way you describe certain things, you're not down with that.
Well, I just think it really amuses me that people can get so excited about going to a game that's like 6 months from now or 5 months from now or whatever. You know, a week ahead of time or something, yeah, you get all juiced up about it. But, I mean, people looking at that schedule like, wow, look at this. On December 15th, they play it. I can't wait for that game. You can wait.
Well, you're being ridiculous, and I'll explain why. Because when you plan trips or vacations with your wife, don't you get excited at the time you're planning your trip? Like when you were putting together your trip when you went to Europe or your recent trip, you're down there in the Amazon, you guys put your trip together. Don't you get excited through the process of planning the trip and picking out the dates and what you're going to do in the whole process?
A little bit, but not much. I save it for like when we get close. I do think anticipation is a big reason to plan vacations.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the anticipation is better than the actual trip itself.
I'm a firm believer in that. Anticipation, yeah. I used to hate it when I was younger because I wanted everything right now. But I've learned over the course of time that it's the anticipation for big events and trips that's better than anything else. Anticipation. So instead of just wanting it to be over, just embrace the anticipation and sit back and enjoy it. Mm-hmm. The reason why I love the football schedule release is because my favorite thing to do is to have weekend getaways. You do a trip to Arizona, catch a couple of games. You can do a trip to Denver and catch a couple of games. Wherever you want to go, planning those trips for college football and the NFL is my favorite thing to do. And so every year, I always take a trip back to Denver with my buddy Josh, who's a Bronco fan. And so we plan the trip out, and we stay with his family member, his cousin Jeff, and he's got the Bronco man cave and a great crib on the golf course. So we stay there. We plan a couple of days to play golf, and we pick the game, and then we get to plan it out, and we put every detail together. What Steve and I will do on Wednesday is we will formalize our football trips. We've already put one together that we have booked, but once the NFL schedule release comes out, we try to pair up a football game, NFL game, with one of our college football weekends so we can catch a football game on Saturday, college style, and then catch an NFL game on Sunday or Monday. And we've been doing that for years. It's awesome. It's my favorite thing to do. Mm. The one trip that we have planned so far is opening weekend of college football. We're going to go down for Arizona State's opener, which will probably be like 120 degrees at kickoff at 8 o'clock at night.
Nice.
Wyoming, Arizona State. And then the next morning, we're going to get up and fly back to Vegas. And then we're going to catch the Las Vegas Kickoff Classic, which will be USC and LSU. And then we'll make a weekend of it. That's Labor Day weekend. So we got that one planned, but we have other trips that we want to plan, but we want to pair them up with NFL games. When we go to Denver to catch a Bronco game, we'll pair it up with a college football game on Saturday. So we'll go to Air Force and catch an Air Force game or a Colorado game or a Colorado State game. It just depends on who's playing at home that weekend so we can pair it up with a game like that. Our favorite thing to do is go to Arizona because you got Arizona, Arizona State. So we like to find games that are paired up with a college football game. Like a couple of years ago was Arizona and Philadelphia, which turned out to be a great game. It could be, whatever they have in store. We caught a Sunday night game a few years ago with Seattle and Arizona when Russ was still there. That game turned out to be a dud, though. It was, I believe, either 3-3 or 6-6 tied going into overtime. It was a field goal game. That's it.
Wow.
And there were missed field goals and other mistakes there. But yeah, that's my favorite thing to do. I love the weekend getaways for football. And then for the Broncos, the schedule, aside from the game I plan with Josh, least important this year because I'm not worried about the games. I'm just going to sit back and watch Bo Nix develop. That's all I care about. It's not about wins and losses this year. I mean, if they win games, that's nice, but it's all about watching Bo Nix develop. So that's where I'm at on that. So, and speaking of that, we need to pick out the games we want to go watch down in Arizona for the Diamondbacks so we can plan our trip and I can meet Treb.
You still want to do that, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Okay.
I looked at the schedule.
Wanted to make sure.
I looked at the schedule. The problem is I was hoping to catch like the Dodgers or some team that's really good. The weekend sets that they have coming up at home this season weren't as good.
Yeah,
all the other games are earlier in the week. It's like, what are you guys doing, you idiots?
I know. They don't have a lot of choice in that, but I did the same thing. I looked and I thought every good series is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday rather than Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
That was my estimation.
It kills you. But we're going to have to accept, we're going to have to find something good to like about a visiting team at some point. Because, we're gonna go down and see the Diamondbacks anyway, and we got other things planned. I got all kinds of little adventures for you down there. By the way, big news in Arizona restaurant-wise. One of the most popular restaurants in Arizona, COVID killed it. And they had more than one, but the big one was outside of Scottsdale. It was called Pinnacle Peak, and it was a cowboy steakhouse. It was set up like in a western town, and they served T-bone steaks, old-fashioned T-bones, melt in your mouth. It was also the place that we used to con. When I was going down for basketball playoffs, there'd always be somebody who hadn't been there before, and we'd tell them, you got to dress up to go.
Yeah.
And then if you have a tie on, they cut your tie off.
We've
always set somebody up like that.
So the place isn't open anymore?
They opened a new one
in
Tucson. That's the big news. I guess there's one in Tucson now. So whenever I go down to Phoenix the next time, there's going to be a little drive south to Tucson to get a nice, and I don't order a T-bone steak anywhere, but I know theirs are really good.
What do you order when you go there if you don't get a T-bone?
No, I say I never order T-bone steaks.
But you get the one there.
But when I go there, that's what I order. Yeah. That's about all they have, really. But their trimmings are good. Everything's great there, and it's just a fun place to go.
Well, we may have to plan a trip to Arizona just to go to that place.
I know. That's what I'm thinking because I know you'd love it.
I've done the drive, Highway 10 out to Tucson
it's easy.
100 times.
Yeah. It's not that far.
No.
And on a warm night.
It's about an hour 30, hour 45.
Yeah, we can easily do that. And then I got, I have a pretty good restaurant
I want to go to
there.
the Mexican restaurant you were talking about.
Yes, we have to do that. Barrio Queen.
Let me give you guys a hint. When you travel with the Godfather, one, accommodations will be good. Two, restaurant choice is always good. You can trust Dwight with his restaurant selection. Always.
Well, been a lot of trial and error has gone with that. But the other thing I was helped with, though,
but I respect your food game, though.
No,
I trust you when
that.
you tell me.
Well, we kind
of
of like the same things. Mostly.
Yes.
But I travel with Peter Sokach a lot with NBC, and Peter was just all over Yelp. Every place we went, he's on Yelp, and he finds the good places, and it mostly runs true to form. So,
all right. It is time for another Bo Nix update. Let's do it. All right, the Broncos had their rookie camp over the weekend, and a lot of big reviews, rave reviews on Bo Nix. I want to play this clip for you, Godfather. Bo Nix, probably one of the most impressive things he said, talking about pressure over the weekend. Take a listen.
Super excited to be here. The city's incredible. Can't believe, I get to wear a Broncos jersey and go out there and do what so many greats have done before me. So I don't take that lightly, and I know I'm not going to take it for granted, but, obviously pressure gives you opportunity. So I think the more, pressure and responsibility you have, just the more that you have to go out there and consistently earn it.
All right, that's Bo Nix from the rookie camp this weekend. Okay, Godfather, one thing I love about Bo is he is all business. Like, he is not into saying things that are BS. He's not into fluff. He just wants to talk ball. In fact, someone asked him about the Avalanche and the run that they're on right now, and he goes, I don't have time for that. I'm trying to learn a playbook. And I was like, that's the perfect answer.
Yeah.
He's not trying to pretend to be an Avalanche fan. He's not trying to get caught up in all this stuff. He's like, look, man, I'm here to learn a playbook. I'm trying to get on top of this. So I think that's super impressive. But in terms of how things really played out in the practices based on the people I spoke with, one thing we're going to see is all of Sean Payton's offense. So what you didn't see with Russ, and they can't talk about the specifics in terms of exactly what they saw at practice. The media members are not allowed to. They just said that, hey, everything that you've seen before in Sean Payton's offense with Drew Brees, all of those elements are going to be available now because he's finally got a quarterback who can run the offense the way he wants it to be run. So the operation was smooth. Bo Nix had a good handle on what he was supposed to be doing and the offensive plays that were needed to be run, and he was the one providing direction to his younger teammates, which is what you want to see. So even though he doesn't know everything, he had a very good handle on what was expected of him at the rookie camp. And then, like I said, the smarts, he's clearly focused. He's putting in the time, according to all reports. But most importantly, accurate, putting the ball where it needs to be, and just running the offense the way Sean wants, which will allow him to call the plays that he believes in the most. Instead of trying to shape the offense to fit a guy like Russ, he's got a guy that can run the offense the way he wants.
Right.
And that's important. It's all about fit. So he was happy with that. Now, Sean Payton, I mean, I don't know how to explain Sean Payton other than he just sounded giddy. Like, it was really weird. He sounded like really happy and giddy.
He's been coaching too long to sound that way, right? I mean, usually they don't get that excited about anything.
No, which leads me to believe that he might be pretty excited about what he's got in Bo Nix. Let's take a listen to Sean Payton talking about Nix, and he said he reminds him of a golfer. It's like, what? Wait,
I
what?
heard that.
Let's take a listen.
We're not going to get there in a day or 2 days, but the objective is to get there soon in time for training camp. So he's handling the install well. I mean, he had a pretty good practice today, and he's grinding through it. He's doing a good job with it.
What makes a good practice? What defines that?
Well, the location of throws. He had 2 or 3 down the field throws today. It's almost like watching a good golfer. Sometimes when you watch his game over 2 years, you just there's a patience to how he plays. The ball comes out, and I don't want to use the term boring. That's not the right term, but pretty good decisions. And with each play, the efficiency and how he's operating, all of that. And look, we've done these camps for a long time, and some teams no longer have a true rookie mini camp. It might be more of an orientation. I like to have 50 guys. I like to have the workout players here because we found a tryout player every now and then. And then it also allows you to have the full team drills, and I think it develops not just the quarterback but everyone else. So oftentimes your first exposure to huddle, snap count, verbiage, that can be challenging, and but I thought he threw it well
Was there
today.
anything that maybe pleasantly surprised you that you didn't fully know about Bo these first 2 days?
No, it's been exactly what we saw. The only thing I can think about that I was a little bit surprised is when we went to work him out privately and and stood around him. He was bigger than I expected, but nothing in the last 2 days. He's doing well.
It's pretty high praise from Sean Payton right there.
Yeah. And I would say Bo Nix is bigger than you think he is.
Yeah.
He's a big kid.
He's got that stocky, strong build, which would lead you to believe that he can absorb punishment. The same issues or concerns we have about Jaden Daniels, you don't see that in Bo Nix.
Right.
He's well put together.
Yeah.
But if you listen to Peyton, how he's running the offense, delivery of the football, on time, clearly accurate, everything they saw at the workout, he saw at the camp.
And I don't think Sean wanted to say it because he was stumbling for when he mentioned golfer, he was kind of trying to explain what he meant. And I think he didn't want to say, but he makes it look easy.
Yeah.
And that's not something you like to say because it's not easy, but he does kind of make it look easy.
The way I caught that, because I play golf, is someone that hits the ball in the fairway, puts the ball in the green in regulation, 2 putts, gets their par, and gets out of there. Nothing extravagant, nothing crazy, just play it the right way. And that's what Sean wants. He wants a quarterback that will run the play the way he's designed it and then deliver the football to the player where it needs to go.
Yeah.
To keep the offense going, to keep the chains moving. And that's Bo Nix. He's got some flair to his game that he can showcase from time to time, but just like Tom Brady, don't be afraid to dump it off. If the defense is giving you the dump off, just take it and get your 4 or 5 yards and move on to the next play.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of guys can't be patient like that. They want to force it downfield. And sometimes the game just doesn't call for that.
Yeah. No, and I think he has that. He has that figured out. You don't get the kind of completion percentage he had without figuring that out.
I do love the fact that he's like a football junkie. Like Bo Nix he's not going to be out making it rain or popping bottles. He's married. He's going to be reading the playbook. And
he's not even going to the Avalanche games.
His wife's probably going to get annoyed that he's paying more attention to the playbook than he is her.
She might be used to it by now.
All right, we'll keep things rolling here on the show. We will keep the Bo Nix updates coming for you, whether you want them or not. Sorry about that.
This is your on-air Bo Nix headquarters right here.
Yes. All right, when we come back, the NBA draft is going to be over 2 days.
That's one of the dumbest moves ever.
I love what you said, and you'll expand on this, but Commissioner Silver, aside from sunlight, he lacks creativity as well.
Yeah. It's a copycat.
You got the Rip City Drive. All right, Shacker's informed me that George Kittle, their tight end, the 49ers, is leaking out on his Instagram that the 49ers will open up the season against the Jets, which will be awesome. Aaron Rodgers against San Francisco. I'll watch that.
Would it be in Santa Clara or San Francisco?
I haven't looked at the 49ers opponents to know who's at home and who's on the road.
Yeah.
Do you know that, Shacker?
No, I just learned about it during the break. Got excited over a rumor.
Okay.
Hey, I took another look at the Diamondback schedule, Chad.
Boy.
Let me run this by you. What would you think about the Blue Jays?
Yeah, I don't get excited about that.
Well, good young players, though. And on the Saturday game, they have a Stormtrooper bobblehead giveaway.
Well, I'm down with that.
I figured you would be.
Oh, by the way, I saw this. The Yankees, check this out. August 4th, the first 18,000 fans will receive an Eli Manning bobblehead presented by Duncan. The Yankees are celebrating the Giants' 100th season. And look at that. It's Eli in a freaking Yankee uniform.
Now, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm all about that.
I got to tell you, though, I hate Major League teams, especially rich ones like the Yankees. What did they say? First 18,000?
Yes.
Give one to everybody or nobody. You take a bunch of little kids and you can't get them corralled early enough to get there among the first 18,000, and those kids got to sit there for a few innings looking at everybody else having those bobbleheads, and they don't get one?
Well, what is the purpose of only giving it out to the first 18,000?
Because they're cheap. I think they just don't want to buy that many. That's all. Or maybe
who's paying for it? Is Duncan paying for it, or are the Yankees paying for it?
They probably have a sponsored. Was it?
It's by Duncan, so Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, somewhere on that little pedestal it says Dunkin' Donuts on there.
Yeah.
And that's probably all you're right. That's all they'll pay for.
Okay.
I don't like it, though. You know what I mean?
But I like that bobblehead. That's cool.
It
and
is.
A Stormtrooper bobblehead is dope. Anything Star Wars is nice.
Yeah, and they'll be wearing Diamondback uniforms, I'm sure.
I think I still have it in. I have a lot of Star Wars stuff from my younger days that I think is worth some money. I still have I took it to show and tell one year because it was so awesome. But I had the Darth Vader carrying case for all of my action figures.
Perfect.
It was sweet, man. And I had all of the action figures. Some of them I killed through a variety of different processes. One time I drowned Luke down the drain of the bathtub. It was unfortunate for him, but it happened. But I would take my mom, in order to get me to bathe more regularly when I was young, would be like, well, you could take your action figures into the tub. And then it was like, it was the land of make-believe, you know? It was, Luke and Vader and all the rest of my friends in the bathtub with me.
Lots of battles in that bathtub, I'm sure.
More than you could possibly imagine.
But you still have those.
I do.
Might you be a bit of a hoarder, do you think?
No, I'm not. In fact, one of the biggest things I've learned to do over the course of time is I have no problems giving stuff away. And donating stuff, giving stuff away. If I have something that I know I don't use or something that's brand new, then I'll give it to someone that I think would enjoy it. I just don't hold on to stuff. There's a few things I keep that mean something to me, but I don't like to be attached to stuff. It just doesn't, whatever. I'm just that way. I like to keep everything nice and tight. Most of the stuff I have in storage are things that I'll need at some time in the future, but
you have memorabilia though, right?
I do have some memorabilia, some ball cards.
Yeah.
Some autographs, some different jerseys that I've gotten over the years, some memorabilia, but
sure.
I just don't have really all I need, Godfather. I just need my golf clubs, my golf shoes, and give me a course. But where I care about the stuff I care about the most is, and I'm not joking, but I like going on trips or building memories, because really that's all we are, is like we have a series of memories that we keep around in our domes, and those bring me pleasure. Remembering good times. Like, for instance, last night I was going through some details from my New York trip, and I pulled up some pictures, and I looked at the time we were in New York together at the game and then the concert and stuff, and I love looking back and remember those things.
That's what I was going to ask you. You take lots of pictures then when you do these trips?
What I do is I take a bunch of pictures, and my favorite thing to do is I have on my computer, I have all these different folders where I label them, and I put all the pictures in there, all the illegal music that I've acquired over the years. I keep them all in the same folder so I can go back and relive all that stuff, which is cool.
Yeah, and every once in a while, the old iPhone puts together a nice little slideshow.
Oh, I
for
like
you
that.
Based on the dates of the. It's amazing to me. You pull it up.
And it
here's
plays
your-
music on it, too.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, really, and they're nicely done.
Yeah, in fact, one popped up on my phone a couple of days ago. It was like Your Pets, and it had pictures of my cat Tiger when he was alive. It had puppy shots in there, and it played me a little montage with music and stuff. It was nice. And they, it kind of fades in and out with the pictures. The technology is pretty cool.
It is. Nancy and I are always comparing. Oh, I got this trip today. I got that trip today. Pretty cool stuff.
All right, real quick. The NBA, what are they doing with the draft going 2 days?
It's crazy.
No one cares about day 2 of the draft.
No.
Are you kidding me?
You're going to go somewhere or watch something on TV from the second round of the draft? This is not the NFL.
But you made the best point to me before the show that the commissioner lacks creativity. How so?
Well, first of all, he copied the in-season tournament. That's strictly a soccer deal. It has been for years. It's a tradition in soccer.
Yeah.
That's fine. They do it, and that's their thing.
And it matters to them.
Yeah. So don't steal it from them because it probably won't work for you. But instead of coming up with an original idea, they just steal that, just like they're stealing the multi-day draft from football.
Yeah.
Makes no sense. Now, they can take as long as they want to have their draft. I don't care. Heck, it used to be 7 or 8, 9, 10 rounds. I don't remember. But it wasn't like all of that wasn't on television. It was, don't try to make it a big attraction. I think it's really stupid.
It is stupid. Which is dumber, day 2 of the draft, the NBA spreading the draft over 2 days, or the in-season tournament? Which is worse?
Oh, the in-season tournament was a big waste of money and time. But the Lakers won. How about that? Those Lakers.
There's no way. Was that all fake about LeBron popping champagne?
No, I saw it. They had video.
That didn't happen.
They had the video.
I don't want to believe it happened.
It's unbelievable.
It's ridiculous.
It was a highlight of his career.
All right, 51-46 Celtics on top of the Cavs right now as they get ready. Let's see, midway through the second, so getting closer to halftime. Oklahoma City, Dallas game 4 is coming up after this game. We'll come back on the Rip City Drive, and when we do, we're going to take a look at the Trailblazers. They're going to be selecting picks at 7 and 14, but what do the mocks say, and what's the best way to handle that situation? We'll talk about it next. All right, 5 o'clock. We start with the NBA scoreboard. Doubleheader tonight in the postseason with a pair of game fours. Right now, game four in Cleveland, Celtics and Cavaliers. Boston a 55-50 lead with 3:21 to play in the first half. Donovan Mitchell is not playing tonight with a calf strain. Max Strus has 15 points. Coming up at 6:30 on TNT, the Thunder are in Dallas to meet the Mavericks. Dallas has a 2-1 series lead. They are favored by 1.5. The NBA draft is coming up at the end of June on the 27th. The Blazers, after yesterday's lottery, will select at 7 and 14. The Hawks get the number 1 pick. First time they've won the lottery. They had a 3% chance. We got more on that coming up next on the Rip City Drive. The Lakers have started their search for a new head coach, a replacement for Darvin Ham. They will talk to J.J. Redick, among others. All right, Godfather, not the ideal situation for the Trailblazers following yesterday's lottery where 3 teams jumped up, including the Hawks, who had a 3% chance. They land the number 1 pick. First time that the Hawks have won the lottery. The Trailblazers, as a result, will have a pick at number 7 and a pick at number 14, which is that pick they got back from the Warriors. My question to you for the Blazers would be this. We all know they need a forward. But in this draft that's considered by many to be one of the weakest on record, and we'll see how it plays out, do you take the best available player at 7, or do you draft based on need? Like, how do you handle that? What's the approach?
Well, I think if you had a top pick, like a top 4 or 5 player, you might get somebody pretty marketable, and then you might want to go for best player available. But when you're getting down around 7, especially in this draft, I just can't see any reason to take another point guard, really another small guard. If you want to go ahead and maybe take a big guard, that'd be one thing. But I think wings are what they need, and that's what I'd be looking for. I don't think, Chad, that I'd want to throw another guard onto this guard-heavy roster right now.
What do you think about some of the mocks have the Blazers selecting Dalton Connect out of Tennessee?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, he's a shooter, from what I understand. I can't say I've seen him yet. Yeah, once you hear their names, you can go back and find video, and I will do that at some point. He's a shooter who can play small forward and a scorer, which they could use that.
Teams can always use more shooting, right?
Yeah, especially long distance, for sure.
All right, so my guess is they probably take a forward. You would think.
That's what I'd be looking for. And
a guard would be a hard sell, wouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And it's like the coach would turn around and say, now, how am I going to get this guy in? You're already trying to find out what we have. They don't even know what they have yet with the current guards they have. Then you throw another guy into the mix. You're trying to find out about him. No, I don't think so. And people always talk about trade the 7th pick. I think to trade either one of these picks, you would have to bundle them. You'd have to put them in with a player. I don't think anybody's going to give you too much for anybody in this draft just by itself. You're not. I don't see you getting anything.
All right. The San Antonio Spurs are going to be selected at 4. You think they'll look to France once again? What do you think they might do there?
There's a French kid in the draft. I wish I could pronounce his name. I can't. But there's one that's looks like he could be a good addition to their team, can shoot a little bit. I would think it'd be a perfect fit to put with Wemby. But I just found it ironic that they would come from out of nowhere, basically, to get the number 4 pick.
Yeah.
And in a year where they need help for Wemby. And you say, well, look at that. That's not a big market team. the league wouldn't possibly want to help out San Antonio. Well, the league would love to help out San Antonio right now. They need them to be better so they'd get more TV games so that more people would watch them all the way through the playoffs because Wemby is a definite TV draw. He's a magnet.
You want him to be featured.
Yes. Yeah.
I love watching him play because I
do
haven't seen a
too.
guy do exactly what he does at that size. It's ridiculous.
Unique. There's never been a player like him with that size.
All right. What would you say to Trailblazer fans who are panicked, frustrated, feel like the franchise is cursed? They fall back in the draft. They'll be picking at 7 and 14. What would your message be?
Save your hard feelings for next year's draft because that's the one that really matters.
Yeah,
that's
if you fall back to 7 in next year's draft, that's a problem.
That is a real problem. That would be a huge disappointment because they're going to spend all season next year tanking to get into the top of that draft. That's why I say if you could get your hands on a draft pick in next year's draft, even somebody that might be 14th, 15, or 16, Atlanta had pretty good luck with that this year. Let's go ahead and get as many picks next year as possible.
Well, that's got to be on the table for Joe right now.
Has to be.
With the veterans on the roster, you need to consolidate, and you've got multiple veterans who can be helpful to other teams. My guess would be like even if you're moving some of your vets to get picks that are a little bit later in the first round of next year's draft, that's still a benefit.
Yeah. I think that has to be the emphasis now. And I don't even think you trade for another player unless he's in the right age group, somebody that's 23, 22, 24, somewhere around in there. And then he can grow with the current young players on the roster. But other than that, I think get picks. Even if it's not next year, Chad, if it's after that, picks are going to serve this franchise better than a veteran player would.
I agree with that. Do whatever you can to stock the cupboard.
Yeah, and you don't need – right now, you're not looking for a veteran player, even long-term. He's going to probably be over the hill or done with his contract by the time this team gets good.
No, you need a young player that you believe can be legit that can grow with the current group of Scoot, Shaden, and the rest of those guys.
Yeah.
And that means that maybe they'll be open for business. We know they will be for Malcolm Brogdon based on his contract status. Maybe you're open for business with Matisse Thybulle, Jeremy Grant, any of those vets, including the center DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah.
I think everything's got to be on the table right now.
Yeah.
If it means getting draft picks in next year's draft.
Yeah. And I think now people are going to probably not agree with this. Chauncey did a great job of making DeAndre Ayton more valuable as a trade piece last year by getting him the ball a lot. They rehabbed him a little bit. People now know he can score.
Yep.
They know he's a mid-range scorer. He went to the boards. He did a lot of rebounding for them. I think his value this summer might be as high as it ever will be. And I think now might be the time to get the most out of him that you can. It might be a good time to move him.
16 points, 11 rebounds, shot 57% from the field.
Yeah, that's nice stuff. It really is. And frankly, I wasn't sure he could produce those kind of numbers this year, but he did. Part of that is they kept him engaged. They kept him a part of what they were doing on offense. I wish he would have played more games, but when he did play, he played well. And I think that sets them up to make a nice deal with him if they can.
All right. So far in his career, 71 games, 38 games, 69. It's nice. 58, 67, 55.
Okay.
There you go. And, you know, he's like any of those antiquated centers. Like, he's not perfect like some of the new age guys that you want, like a Wembanyama or what we see with Chet Holmgren, but he can still be effective in different ways.
Yeah, and I think as the league gets bigger again, which you're seeing with Minnesota, as the league gets bigger, there might be more teams saying, you know what, we need a bigger kind of old school center. So you could capitalize on that a little bit, maybe.
Well, that's one advantage for Denver. When you have Jokic and you got Aaron Gordon, they've got some size, some guys who are strong and sturdy that can deal with Minnesota.
Yeah, and if you want to beat them, you better come up with that same kind of equivalent size.
Minnesota's crazy. When you watch them on the court, like, they're big.
Yeah. It's going against the grain, too. There's
Big time.
Not a lot of teams like that.
Game 5 in that series is tomorrow. Oklahoma City and Dallas coming up a little bit later on after the Boston-Cleveland game. Celtics and Cavs in a close one right now. And then Donovan Mitchell's out tonight. I'm excited for the 2 Game 5s tomorrow. I think Knicks-Pacers will be incredibly, like all the Knicks games, aside from Game 4. I think it's going to be close and highly contested. I think that both Game 5s are the same. Whoever wins has got the inside track on the series, obviously.
Yeah, that's always the way it is. Doesn't always work out that way, but it sure looks that way at the time.
I just wonder if the Knicks, that Game 4 getting whacked the way they did, was that just an aberration or is that the fatigue a sign of what's to come in Game 5, too?
I think it's a little bit of both. I don't think they would have gotten beat that badly, but they were going to get beat, I think. But
503-248-0620 is your telephone number, 503-248-0620.
You want to take somebody?
Yeah, let's go there. Let's go to Jake in Vancouver. Jake, what's up? Welcome to the show. Fire away.
Hey, fellas. I wonder how you feel about Shaden Sharp's development entering year 3 and just, he had the abdominal surgery, which I'm sure he needed, but also gave them a great excuse and a great ability to tank games. But going into year 3, at some point he's going to want to get paid, probably at the end of year 4. But how do you feel about them developing him, but also trying to tank? Because he just seems so good that if they play him, they're just going to naturally win some games. He's just a good player.
Well, I appreciate that phone call. For me, Dwight, I just need to see more of him.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Chad. And Jake, here, I think Chad and I feel somewhat similar. We want to see more of him so we really adequately can judge him. And I think the Blazers feel the same way. They want to see him with Scoot to find out how he'll play. We haven't seen him in. Here's the other thing from all these guys. We haven't seen them in big games, big important games, games where the pressure's on, games where the other teams are scouting the daylights out of them. We haven't seen him in those situations, and it's really hard to tell right now what you have. Now, he does look like he's going to be a pretty good player. All-star, I'm not ready to say that yet. We just don't know. So with him, I still have some question marks.
Let's go to Bob in Hillsborough. Bob, welcome to the show, buddy. What's up? Fire away.
A comment and a question. I think the Blazers, some people are going to like to hear, I think they got a tank for 3 or 4 years. I really do. They're not going to get good free agents to come here. Portland doesn't have a history of getting the top-notch free agents, the superstars, to come to Portland. They need to tank for 3-4 years. Question on the center down at Oregon, I think he's trying to get 1 more year of eligibility. Dwight, what do you think about that N'Faly Dante? You think he would be a good player at center for the Blazers to pick? And I'll take your answer on the air.
Well, that's a great question. And again, I don't follow the college players until they're NBA ready or until I see right before the draft. I always look at the draft guys on tape. I couldn't tell you. I think he's been hurt a lot, which would give me pause because if you get hurt a lot in college, the NBA grind is going to be pretty rough for you. That's the only. And as far as tanking, we know next year for sure because of the nature of the players available. And then how much longer after that depends on how well they do in the draft.
Yeah.
If they don't pull another really good player, you might see him back for a while.
Well, and truth be told, they've already been tanking for a few years.
Yeah, this is really the 3rd year, and next year.
So, Bob, we agree. They need to continue. Don't step away now. They got to continue to press ahead because next year's too rich to walk away from. The draft, that is.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll come back. We're going to head to Denver and get the latest on Bo Nix and how did the Nuggets pull it off and win back-to-back games after dropping those first 2 at home. Ryan Edwards, KOA, is up next. All right, joining us now from our sister station in Denver, 850 KOA, Ryan Edwards is back. Ryan, it's great to talk to you again, my friend. Welcome to the show. Why don't we start with Bo Nix? What was the biggest thing that jumped out to you throughout the course of the rookie camp this weekend?
Well, thanks for having me on, first of all. I didn't know if you'd have me back after I incorrectly predicted the Nuggets would sweep the Lakers. It was a gentleman's sweep, so in fairness. But I didn't know if I'd get an invite back on after that. No, listen, man, Bo Nix looked good. He looked good. I like what Sean Payton said. He kind of said it was boring with Bo Nix. But in the end, that's kind of what you want, right? You want him to be out there. You want him to operate the offense. A few years ago, we watched Paxton Lynch during rookie camp, and he was all over the place, right? Erratic would be the best way to describe Paxton Lynch. And that you did not get whatsoever with Bo Nix. He was consistent. He made all the throws that you wanted to see. And now we get a chance, hopefully very soon with OTAs, to watch him against some of the vets.
Okay, Ryan. Now, Chad and I both thought we detected just a little bit of giddiness in Sean Payton there, which is not something I would have expected from a longtime coach of his age and experience level. Was there a little bit of that when he talked about Bo?
Yeah, I felt like he was trying to suppress the giddiness for us because he knew we would all say that afterwards. And there were certainly some moments he did get giddy. I think talking about the new kickoff rule, he got a little giddy talking about that. But yeah, you got a sense from him as he's talking about Bo. He didn't want to put out too many headline statements about him. But there's no question that this is a hand-picked player by Sean. He understands the legacy that's involved with this pick. He understands that if Bo Nix doesn't work out, it's going to be a hit to him, and that's going to be more so than I think on to Bo. And understanding all of that puts an emphasis on this player that the Broncos really haven't had in a long time. He's never had a first-round quarterback. He's never had a guy that he had a chance to say, "This is my guy. I'm developing him, and I'm gonna get him out there, and he's gonna be able to operate everything that I want him to operate. He's gonna be my next Drew Brees." And if he turns Bo Nix into that, well, golly, I mean, you talk about the Hall of Fame resume growing. He's not in that conversation just yet, but boy, if he brings a quarterback into prominence in Denver, I think that conversation reignites.
Hey, Ryan, last year we know that Sean had to change his offense, for his quarterback in Russell Wilson. But with Bo Nix, do you get the sense that we're going to start to see that Sean Payton offense that we saw for years in New Orleans, meaning no limitations to what he wants to do because he's got a quarterback that fits better with how he wants it to be played?
I mean, that's the goal, right? That's the vision. Whether you see that with a rookie right away, it's tough to say. I do think that Sean has aspirations to show everybody out there that keeps second-guessing him and doubting him, like people like me that sometimes say I would have taken Bo Nix later in the draft. He wants to show those people how much of an idiot they are. He loves doing that stuff. I mean, he did that right before the season started with USA Today when he said that what Nathaniel Hackett did here with the Broncos was one of the worst coaching jobs he's ever seen. And he wanted to go out there and prove it. Now, he didn't really have the quarterback in his mind to do everything he wanted to last year. And I think he wants to show people that he is still that coach. And he wants to show people he can do it without Drew Brees. Kind of like we had conversations about Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. I think Bill kind of wants to get back into the NFL, if nothing else, not only to set the all-time wins record, but to show people that he can coach without Tom. I feel like it's the same kind of situation with Sean Payton. He wants to show people that he is that coach. And again, I think hopefully the Broncos are the beneficiaries of that.
Ryan, just curious now, what does your gut tell you about this with Bo and with Payton? How is this going to work? Do you see it now? Can you see an avenue to success for this?
I do. And it's only because even in the pre-draft process, though, I felt like conversations about Bo Nix in the first round felt a little early. Again, you go get your guy. I totally respect that. It's just you're drafting the third oldest quarterback ever. And what's his relative ceiling? How long can he play at that ceiling? In the end, about the matchup is all probably more important than anything, right? Where the quarterback goes, what kind of coaching they're going to receive, what's the plan for that quarterback. There's a reason guys like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes pan out, or even Joe Burrow, right? I mean, there's a reason why these guys pan out, because they have stability of coaching, they have a plan for that player, and they work and execute that plan. Oftentimes the guys that don't work out is because they change offensive coordinators so many times. or and again, that maybe they get fired or maybe they get promoted. Doesn't really matter. There's just not any continuity whatsoever. And I think there's going to be a lot of continuity here for Bo Nix because Sean Payton, as long as he's operating within an organization and they're improving every year, he's going to get multiple opportunities. And I just think he's the kind of person that isn't going to pass that up. In fact, I tweeted a quote out from him over the weekend where he said he understands what he's walking into. He understands the history and the lineage of the Broncos, especially at quarterback, and he wants to show that he deserves to be in that conversation.
We're talking with Ryan Edwards, 850 KOA in Denver. One thing we know about Bo Nix in the last 2 years of covering him in Oregon is, he's a football junkie. He is very serious about his study habits and being prepared. And I love the comments he made over the weekend when he was asked about the Avalanche. He's like, hey, I'm just trying to learn a playbook. But do you get that sense where he just wants to talk ball, man? Like he's obsessed with football right now, and that's great to hear, I think, for a young guy.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's what I think got him on Sean Payton's radar. There's an anecdote that was told, I think, by Albert Breer of when they went to his workout and they asked him what was in his backpack. And basically everything that was in there was all football related. And that's the kind of stuff that Sean Payton just sort of geeks out about. He wants somebody in here that eats, breathes football like he does and cares about it that much. And again, not that I want to keep piling on Paxton Lynch, but he makes it so easy. He didn't eat, breathe, and love football that much. And that's like that extra layer of stuff, right? I mean, you only get that by interviewing these guys and spending time around these guys because you can turn on the film. Everybody's watching the games, and you can say, holy cow, look at the rocket arm. Oh, my gosh, look at his mobility. This guy is an unbelievable athlete. He's been probably the best athlete at his high school, one of the best athletes in college. There's no doubt this guy has a chance to go in the first round because he's just so much more talented than everybody else. But it's the stuff upstairs. It's the personality. It's the drive that you just really don't know. And you don't know what that's going to be like until you get him in the building or until you interview him during the pre-draft process. And the Broncos got that vibe from Bo Nix. So to your point, that's exactly what the Broncos fell in love with him because this is a guy that really only cares about football, and he's shown that at every place he's been.
Okay, we'd love to hear that. One more football question for you. Schedule is going to be released on Wednesday. You heard any leaks about who the Broncos might open with?
Oh, nothing official. I'd say that we're out here talking about the Steelers as that team that makes a lot of sense to open the season, right? Russell Wilson coming back to Denver and just, all the fun storylines with that. So that would be interesting. I could see, a few different scenarios there. I mean, of course, the Saints are on the schedule, so that could be a possibility with Sean Payton playing his former team. But that for me would be the one you got to see early in the season is the Steelers because, again, it's not to say that I completely doubt Russell Wilson or his ability to rehabilitate what he is, but he may not be the starter late in the season, right? It could be Justin Fields out there. And I think if you're the NFL, you want to see Russell Wilson taking on his former team because there's too much there.
That'd be fascinating.
All right, let me switch it off a little bit. Ryan, I was one of those guys that after the first two games against the T-Wolves, I really didn't see how Denver was going to get back in that series. They just looked totally bewildered by what they were facing. And I'm going to ask you, how has Denver turned it around? And then what's ahead for the Nuggets? Do you expect them now that they're kind of looking like they're back to their old self? Do you think that they just go ahead and finish this thing off?
Well, at least you didn't go Stephen A. or Chuck and say they were going to be swept and embarrassed like that. So good for you. It's okay to doubt. I mean, after the second game, I had doubts. We were doing interviews and talking to people, and it's just kind of like, man, I mean, it's only happened 5 times in the history of the NBA. A team has come back from losing their 2 home games and won a series. So it's okay to have doubts. But then, I thought people went a little far saying that this championship team was just not even going to show up for the rest of the series. And you knew they were going to show up, and they showed up obviously in a big way in Game 3. They blew out Timberwolves. And then I thought the Game 4 was even more impressive because you knew the Timberwolves were going to fight back. But the Nuggets just had so many adjustments. So to your question, I do think that they're on the right track here, but there's no room for complacency because we know that the Timberwolves absolutely have the talent. They need somebody else to show up and help Ant at this point, right? If Cat would have showed up and played anything close to the level of what Ant was doing as far as his effort and his ability, then that game would have been a win for the Timberwolves. But he didn't. And so if he's not going to show up, you can't really expect Gobert to be that guy. I mean, he's a good defensive presence, but, that's just not his game. So who else is going to show up? Mike Conley? Yeah, I'm not really sure. So to your question, Ant's going to show up. He's going to have his. I don't know who else is going to show up, and I still like the Nuggets' chances.
I was blown away. I was stunned at games 1 and 2, and I was stunned at games 3 and 4. I can't even call this series anymore, man. Bizarre. Crazy, but what a bounce back. So much fun. Jeez. I don't even know what to say anymore. Who's the bigger story now?
You run out of superlatives, right? I mean, and I got to be honest, I'm a diehard Nuggets fan. I've been a Nuggets fan most of my life, and I never thought I'd even see a championship in my lifetime, just based on the way the NBA is set up.
Yeah.
So for me, like I'm playing, we're playing a little bit of house money, but I'm glad the Nuggets don't approach it, and that's what it felt like after the first 2 games. It felt like the Nuggets sort of just, hey man, our bench isn't good enough. Jamal's hurt. There's so many excuses that we're going to be able to use after this. But I love that they just sort of said, you know what? No, we're not there yet. We don't get to rest on our laurels just because we finally won a championship. We're a better team than this. We think we're a better team than Minnesota, and we need to show up as such. And you're right. You won those 2 games. You won them in convincing fashion. You have, freaking Aaron Gordon. I don't think enough gets said about how good of a player he is and how much of a compliment he is to what they do here. He's selfless. And he even had that question asked to him after the game. And he said, yeah, I mean, if our 3-time MVP can be selfless, certainly I can do the same. Just unbelievable performance by him as well. So, yeah, I mean, you have to like it they return home, but there's not really room for resting or thinking that you've figured them out, because guess what? They've got a good coaching staff there. They've got talent. They're gonna find a way to put themselves back in this conversation, and this can be a good game tomorrow night.
I'll tell you, sometimes cities are blessed with an awful lot to talk about on the radio, and I'm looking now at the Avalanche and wondering what's going on, because I have to say I kind of expected a little more out of them than what I've seen so far. What do you expect from the Avs the rest of this series with Dallas?
Well, tonight's so big, right? I mean, they're down 2-1. They've got a game at home. You have to tie this thing up, so at least you give yourself a chance, because Dallas already got home court or home ice back, and now again they go back for Game 5, and that if you lose tonight, then I mean it's tough. But I think that you're going to see the Avs kind of do what they do. They might get Jonathan Drouin back, which is huge tonight. That would be really massive get for them. He was 4th on the team in points. So if you get him back, and maybe you put Val and Nichushkin back on the top line. They kind of tinkered with things and put him on the second line, which I didn't think really worked. And Georgiev's got to continue to do what he's doing. I mean, he's been really good here in the postseason. He struggled at the tail end of the regular season, was giving up a lot of goals. People were starting to panic, thinking maybe you might have to make a goalie change. He's silenced a lot of critics, and he's played really, really well. So, hey, you just keep being aggressive. Some of those pucks will go in. Jake Ottinger's been playing out of his mind there for the Stars. That you just sort of hope with your offense that can't continue. I think the Avs win tonight.
All right, you can follow him on X at R Edwards Radio. He's 3 to 6 Mountain Time on KOA. Ryan, we appreciate the time, man. That was an awesome breakdown. Enjoy the games, and we'll catch up soon.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, buddy. Thank you. There's Ryan Edwards, 850 KOA in Denver.
Always good stuff.
Yeah, I love him. He is terrific. And, man, great stuff on Bo.
Yeah.
Great stuff on the Nuggets and the Avalanche. They do need to win tonight.
You never thought you'd be so sold on Bo Nix so fast, did you?
Well, I am. Where am I at? Where am I at right now with Bo? Cautiously optimistic. I feel better.
If Sean is this optimistic, it's like, how can you not be?
Yeah, it's just sports pants were tight. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a boner for Bo, man. He does. He was trying. He had to hold it back. He was almost just like, I just haven't heard a coach gush over a rookie like that too often. The other thing I was going to say too, Matt Eberflus, the head coach of the Bears, like I'm not convinced that's going to work long term because he's a defensive guy, but I did think it was smart for them to come out and just be like, look, Caleb Williams is starting, okay? It doesn't matter who's on the roster. It's Caleb's the guy. And that's a good way to handle that. Because a lot of times coaches, you know how they are. They come in with this whole bullcrap talk about we just need competition. You know, we're going to let the guys play and see what we got. It's like, no, that's our quarterback. We drafted him number 1 for a reason, and we believe in him completely. He is our guy. That was smart. That's good. I like to see guys who I don't necessarily know if they're wise or not come out and set the tone the right way. That's a good thing. Because I have my question marks about defensive coaches with young quarterbacks. Like, I'm worried about the Patriots situation with their new head coach being defensive-minded, Matt Eberflus, of course.
Yeah.
It's always concerning. But with Sean Payton, it's like his strength is developing quarterbacks. His strength is identifying quarterbacks that can fit his offense.
Right.
They drafted Bo Nix for a reason, and that's because Sean Payton believes that that guy can run his offense the way he wants it run. So the one thing I do love about Bo is that he is a junkie. He is not messing around. He's going to study and work and do everything that's necessary to be in a position to have success. He's not going to not get there because he doesn't work hard enough.
Yeah.
Paxton Lynch didn't work hard enough. And then before you know it, he's crying on the sideline during an NFL game. That's embarrassing. Bo Nix will not be crying on the sideline with his teammates wondering what the heck's going on. Like, you can't do that.
How good are they going to be overall? Can they win some games, Chad?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're good because defensive line, they've bolstered significantly, so they're going to be much better against the run. Their secondary is good, and they're led by the best cornerback in the NFL in Pat Surtain. On offense, they've got guys who can catch the football. Offensive line is good. I mean, really, if Bo plays extremely well and exceeds expectations as a rookie, then, yeah, they can win some games.
Playoff team?
I'm not going to say that. But how many games they won last year? They went 8 and 9?
Yeah.
So, yeah, they could, based on schedule, win 8 games. Again, it comes down to Bo. What type of rookie season does he have? If he has a season where he goes out and throws, 29 touchdowns and 4 picks, then, yeah, they can be a playoff team. That's really what it comes down to. They've got some of the other pieces. It's just what type of quarterback is he going to be? He hasn't even been named the starter yet. We're just assuming he's going to start. He better start with Zach Wilson. And
come on.
Who's that other guy? Stidham.
It's just a matter of when Sean Payton decides to say it. And he'll have an angle of some sort when he says it. There'll be a reason for saying it.
Yeah, those guys know. Stidham and Wilson know they got no chance.
Yeah.
Like, Bo would have to be really bad not to start. Like, obviously behind the 8 ball and not getting it. But that's not Bo.
Yeah, Zach Wilson knew the moment that pick came down where he was going to be sitting during the games. Right over there on the bench.
He's just happy to still have a job.
Probably.
And that's okay. He can entertain the ladies at the local PTA meetings in the neighborhood.
Knew that was coming.
Just saying. My favorite part was his reaction after that weekend. Hey, guys, I've been out of town camping. Did I miss anything? Only your name blowing up in the headlines everywhere because you apparently got with your mom's friend. Other than that, no, it's not a big deal. How do you have a conversation with your mom, or how does the mom have a conversation with her friend after that?
Huh.
Do you think his mom was upset that her friend got with him?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I think she's probably upset with her son a little bit too. What are you doing? Come on.
Mom, what did you expect me to do? She came on to me. I didn't try. I don't know what happened here. I was just minding my own business. All right, we'll keep things rolling. We got some high fives to hand out coming up next. And that's Dwight. I'm Chad. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, Michael Shacker wanted me to give a high five to a guy who was hauling 15 million bees, but I've decided not to because I've got to give it out to the Denver Nuggets and their coaching staff, their entire crew. That turnaround was shocking. Didn't see that coming. I thought they were deep.